What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. This is a weird one because there are a few different directions this video can go in, but we'll try to stay on one track. We lost another captain, and that's never fun, but it became increasingly more upsetting the longer I sat with it, because losing or getting rid of people, normally, never fun, but it's not that big of a deal. This one started gnawing at me because this one was part of a different pattern. Losing or getting rid of people, normally, that's one pattern. This one was part of a separate pattern. And this is the deep pain pattern. Because something I was thinking about, I don't think we ever actually heal from the shit that hurts us badly. I talked about this in my notes a while ago, but in my very first relationship, I got cheated on toward the end. And it has been over 10 years since that time, and I thought I'd gotten over it. Because I know when something's hurt me, because as I go about my day, my mind will randomly open up files and review them. And when something has hurt me badly, or the worse something has hurt me, the less inclined I am to think about it naturally or organically or involuntarily. You have to manually open that file. And I think something has been building for a while, and especially today, because a bunch of those files opened themselves up naturally today. A little overwhelming. But a week or two ago, I reopened that getting cucked file. And it's weird because in hindsight, you review shit you did when you were younger with adult eyes, and that relationship sucked. And I think it was doomed from the very beginning. However, those were intense emotions because I'd never felt them before. And anytime I think about the dude she cheated on me with, not even her specifically, because she sucked. The dude, he went by a stupid anime name from a popular anime. And anytime I hear that name and think about it, I get angrier than I think I should, especially with how much time has passed. There's no reason to be... Well, there is a reason to be that angry, and that reason, I think, is the fact that wounds don't heal. And I'm assuming they don't heal because you need them. And this recent happening upset me the longer I sat with it, because it reopened a wound that some wounds that don't heal have enough time for you consciously to believe they have healed. This one's never had enough time to completely pretend it's healed. But I think they're all connected. If there are pillars in your life, or anti-pillars maybe, this is one of them. And it's what happens anytime you try to prioritize someone else's needs over yours. Especially if you disagree with them. Especially if it takes great effort. I'm upset because I thought I'd made a friend and I hadn't. And how many times has that happened in your life? This is the dude that was introducing me to trading. Now, the way I learn things, his instruction had stopped being useful a while ago, and on top of that, he was getting in the way of my learning trading. Because when I'm trying to learn something seriously, I have a process. For a while, I look at what everybody is saying, I boil it down into what seems to be true, or what seems to be important, and then I experiment with those principles in a bunch of different ways to see what does and doesn't work, and how I'll be using them. Why do you think I'm good at typology? I'm not mimicking what other YouTubers are doing. I'm not religiously following one system. I started by absorbing everything everyone else was doing, boiling it down into what I thought worked, and then over years testing until I found what worked my way. And that's why, even though I'm rusty right now, I'll still put my typology up against anyone else's typology because it's mine and I made it. And I trust my shit over anyone else's shit because I know my shit works. Because I've proven it. I know. That's how I learn things. It is a long, arduous process of coming into knowing. And it got to the point this dude would talk in circles, and it's past the point it's going to be useful, at least for me. There was never a process outlined step by step. Because that's another way you can learn to do things. Do this specific thing I know works, so you can develop how doing this correctly is supposed to feel using my model. When I'm teaching somebody typology or anything, that's what I do. But no, it was 500 disconnected things that I couldn't start to use or start to understand, even if I wanted to, but that's not the way I learned to do things. And then he would throw hissy fits when I would start to do things, because it wasn't exactly the way he envisioned my doing it. So by the end, it was a lot of nothing and getting in the way. And I'm harsh with a lot of people. I talk about using people, and I do those things. I don't feel much other than contempt for most people. But occasionally I recognize another person as a person. And then even more occasionally, and the number of times this happens gets smaller and smaller every year, I will relate with them like a person. Try to make friends. I don't know when the idea of being friends with somebody started feeling gay. Probably when I was 25. Feels a little gay, but occasionally I will try to be friends with somebody. And for me, that involves putting their interest or emotional well-being above mine to an extent. And that's really uncomfortable for me. I am the way I am because my core is fragile. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't know if I can fix that. Part of me feels like some kind of transformation might happen and that'll change, or I'll die inside at some point. I'm not sure. It feels like something is going to happen there. I put a lot of trust in people when I, to any degree, listen to what they say over what I think, and also when I am prioritizing their well-being over mine. And that trust is, I trust you're leading me in a good direction, and also while I am prioritizing you, you aren't going to stab me or make me feel like a dipshit for doing that. And I don't do this often because that's always what happens. People are almost never leading you in a good direction, and they'll also almost never respect or watch out for you while you are prioritizing their needs. And also respecting boundaries. That's not something I do with people I don't register as human. So in my evaluation of the situation at that time, this dude has outlived his usefulness in terms of learning trading, at least for the most part. And also he's being a hassle, but I know he means well, and I'm trying to be a friend, so it's fine. I'm not going to tell someone I'm trying to be friendly with to fuck off, get out of the way, you're crowding me. And also, I did something I don't usually do for people, which is explain myself. I hate explaining myself to people because it's not going to make sense to you, and also, you aren't going to respect the fact it makes sense to me, and given time, I can prove it. That's not the way most people operate. I guess any people operate. I was explaining what I was doing, and then he got malicious. And this is one of those things people do. Women do this, beta dudes do this, and it's a sin making me have to use male dominance hierarchy terminology. But this is something betas do. They put you on a pedestal and then do a bunch of weird, girly, submissive shit, while I think internally having some insecurity or resentment toward you. And then they look for an excuse or they look for a moment of weakness, and then they try you. This is what weak dudes do. Why do you think I don't usually deal with young dudes on this channel? That is precisely how juvenile males, whelps, act. Every time, it's like dogs. They walk over to you with their head lowered and their ass pointed at you. They're doing the C-shape thing, the submission thing. And if you, for a second, get comfortable or believe it, immediately they'll try you as best they can. So this dude I'm trying to treat as an equal dominance tests me. And I knew immediately I should have done something. You accrue, in my notes, I explained this relatively well in Stellaris. There are layers of resources. Example, minerals are a basic resource, but you can refine minerals into alloys, which are a more valuable military resource. Life gives you lots of experiences, which are minerals. And then, if you're playing the game well, you have a good system for refining minerals into alloys, which is good. That gives you military preparedness. But then there's another level. It's not a resource. It's not strictly a resources thing. Because you need to turn your alloys into military ships and then use them strategically. So the final resource, the ultimate resource, is you. Your ability to use what you've refined. So going back to our humanity example, life gives you lots of experiences. Ideally, you refine them into wisdom, and then it's on you to use that wisdom. And life likes fucking with you because you know when it's time to use your military ships, to put the wisdom you've accrued into action. God, and it's like life tests you because it knows you don't have the guts to pull the trigger because you don't want to pull the trigger. It's specifically in the situations you don't want to pull the trigger, so you'll fail and get another reinforcement cycle of this lesson. Immediately I knew, okay, this dude doesn't respect me, this dude doesn't view me as an equal. For whatever reason, he's trying to subsume what I'm doing. He doesn't register me as a person. And I should have pulled the trigger right then. But I didn't because for some reason there is this optimism I keep buried and I try to forget exists because it's a liability. There is no happiness in life. There is no security in life. There is nothing good in life. That is not good. What is good in life? To crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of their women. That's it. It is an ugly thing that even though I know, or I'm aware that's the case, I don't know it, know it, know it, know it, know it yet. Yet, hopefully. But I didn't want to pull the trigger here. The same way every time something like this has happened, I haven't wanted to pull the trigger, and I didn't, and I failed, because I would like to have friends. I would like to be among peers. But that's not the way people think. That's not the way people act. So, what did I do? I turned the other cheek, I de-escalated, and then I comforted. Because I'm assuming there's something wrong. I don't want to believe that this is what it clearly is. There must be some extreme external reason for why you would do this. Put me in this position. And there was a reason. He was hungry and grumpy. Okay, so this isn't some extreme, distressing, overwhelming, outside irregular force. This is a normal thing. You can talk with people if you can find them. I share deep mutual enmity with these days, who I feel confident, if there is any shred of honesty in them, will tell you when I was prioritizing them and they knew it, I would never hurt them intentionally. And if I hurt them unintentionally, I would apologize and fix it as fast as possible. I would bet money. I would bet a fair sum of money. It is evident when someone is important to me. Because I'll do shit like this. I will turn the other cheek when I know I shouldn't. Or you have some dumb fucking belief system. This is a common one. I do this a lot and I don't like it. Someone has a dumb shit belief and I will not press them on it. I won't agree with them, and if they push me, I'll push back, but I'm not going to violate what makes them feel uncomfortable when I am prioritizing them. So this dude was casually malicious to me, the way you would be with somebody who is beneath you. And that was agitating, but I took it, and I hoped the expression of concern and care would get through, and it didn't. And it doesn't, is the thing. The very next day, he does the exact same thing. Because this is what this sort of weak person does. If you let anyone get away with anything once, for any reason, this is your new standard. You have permitted them to impose this shitty standard of behavior on you. And that's your fault. You deserve what you tolerate. And then I pulled the trigger because you would hope nobody's perfect. I would hope if on a day I cross a line of somebody important to me accidentally, well, I don't know about that. See, I would hope they would extend me grace, because for me that's a really big fuck up, and I'm going to do everything I can not to let that happen again. But the reality, the ugly truth, is if someone let me get away with something like that, I would do it again. Or at least, I wouldn't be so careful. And even if I wouldn't do it again intentionally, I might let it happen again unintentionally. 'Cause I suck. And then dude throws this whole self-important hissy fit. Lots of dramatics. INTJs are like that. It's funny. it's also painful how it's we use typical as an insult. But the problem is everything is typical. Every single thing is typical. Once you're aware enough, there are no more surprises. There is only how willing or unwilling you are to accept what you know. And I'm too weak, at least right now, to accept fully what I know. I knew people like this were like this. I knew INTJs were like this. But I hoped it wouldn't be like that. And I thought about crypto bros too, that whole finance sphere, which Sam Hyde is part of. And I bring him up because they're man-children. Look at the way they dress and act and what they choose to do with their wealth. Their neurodivergence, their particular shade of neurodivergence, is what earns them their money. But that's like a disability check, except really big. All it does is insulate them from the real world. I looked around finance Twitter, crypto Twitter, and I was thoroughly disgusted with what I saw. I didn't want to interact with these people. I don't want to interact with these people, and I don't think I will. They are internet autistic Peter Pans. And they are millionaires, but they go around acting like or believing they are in the same class of person as industry millionaires, business millionaires. And they're not. You can afford a professional chef to cook you good, healthy meals put together by a high-level nutritionist and train with personal trainers and be able to spend most of your day training with personal trainers, and you're still obese. They're like rappers. Or they're like literal 4chan people, but more like r/4chan people, who, instead of getting typical autism, they got money autism. Roll of the dice. And they didn't turn it into anything else. That's why I am slowly entwining myself as best I can, a little cold right now, but trying, with industrious Jews, American Jews, because that wealth comes from capability and exceptionalism. It doesn't come from autism. That's not going to stop me from trying to learn how to trade, and if this is something I can do, I think I'm at a point I'll be able to do it. It'll take time, but we're experimenting, and we are slowly making progress. In my way. A way that or at least with a method I'm comfortable with. Because charts are beginning to feel like they breathe, and your job is to figure out their breathing patterns. And I think I can do that. Slowly at first, but small but consistent progress is still progress. Now, to reiterate what we said in the beginning, losing people or getting rid of people hurts, feels bad, even when they are not that important to you. And getting rid of people who are important to you, that hurts too. That hurts a lot. But internally, I dealt with the specifics of this one relatively quickly. What happened? Why was I upset? What went wrong? What happened? What did he do? What can be done in the future? And once you do that, and you're honest with yourself, it'll hurt for a while, but you get it into a spot, you can deal with it. It's not that big of a deal. So why this building wave of upsetness? It's because this is what people do. This isn't an extreme or extraordinary case. This isn't a surprise. This is what happens when you let your guard down or when you prioritize another person, which for some reason humans don't perceive that as a goodwill thing or a kindness thing or a positive thing or a warm thing. They perceive it as weakness and they bite you immediately. And that's what I was talking about earlier with all those negative files opening up suddenly, involuntarily, today. They all opened up today because human connection has never gone well. Probably because human connections don't exist the way you think they should, the way people tell you they do, the way you want them to. They're false. And I think the reason my soul is so fragile is it's some kind of disability, it's some kind of shortcoming. Because I don't think the entire human race is lying per se. Rather, I think people know what people are, but they are internally durable enough to deal with the shitty shit humans are that they are able to tell these lies without the lies that let them feel like this isn't the case, even though they know it is the case and are equipped somewhat to deal with it. If everybody shattered the way I do inside, these lies about human kindness and people are basically good, those wouldn't exist. They exist because most people are durable enough to deal with the shit enough that they have the luxury of enjoying these exaggerations or these wishes of what humanity should be. I am very sensitive to maliciousness when I'm trying to be good to a person because of how hard I work to be good to the few people I try to be good to. To keep my maliciousness away from them. I hate that people see that the few times I ever do it and immediately jump on it as an opportunity. And I was thinking about all sorts of people I've dealt with this with today. I thought about the dude I went way outside my comfort zone for to try to be a good friend to, who then started treating me like shit because his girlfriend, who was cheating on him, or close to cheating on him, like rubbing on and flirting with kind of overtly sexually in an S&M way with one of his buddies, because she didn't like me. That hurt. I thought about the dude I tried to bring into who I am, who I actually am, a bit more, and the first thing he did multiple times was disrespect it. As if that hurt. I thought about the high school dudes I tried to make amends with. Didn't go well, but I was trying. And then they got me arrested, and then mocked me and laughed about it. That hurts, but that's more infuriating. That's prison fury. Still, it hurts. It didn't end well. Trying to be human didn't end well. And then, to cap the day off, because you gotta save the best for last, I thought about the two INFJs. Not any of the dude INFJs who did similar things, although now that I am thinking about them, that hurts too. That's infuriating, but that hurts. But it's the same, it's the exact same thing. You try to be a good friend to them. You try to look at them like a human being, treat them the way you want to be treated, and then they treat you like you're lesser. And as if you're just going to accept this as your standard, this is what you are. Fuck you. I'll sodomize, I'll sodomize you and take your head off. In Minecraft, theoretically, a, a Minecraft crime situation. No, I thought about how hurt those two INFJs made me feel by doing very similar things. I admire and appreciate the purity of the second one more because that's like getting into a street fight and then getting just knocked the fuck out by the son or the daughter of Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. That hurts too, but that was devastating, but it was so... That was such a nuclear bomb. That was such a clinical dismantling of me. As bad as I feel, and as bad as I'll probably always feel, I can't help but respect it. I made a joke with her one time about Alien, xenomorphs. I admire its purity. That was such... God, that was artful devastation. Anyway, the first INFJ, she was using me to get back at this ENFJ dude who had used her to get to one of her friends, but he still hung around her because he wanted to possess her, or he liked that she wanted him, or had strong feelings to him. INFJs are psychotic like that. Or both the NFJs. Anyway, he hated the fact she was... It was false passion, but also real passion, but false it was ultimately false passion because I was a tool in her PSYOP campaign. But she got me to the point... She got me so in love with her. I thought I was going to drop out of university, buy a hot dog cart. You know it's so bad when you have me doing actual research instead of just skimming things and absorbing information and being patient. Because I believe in my own ability to get almost anywhere with enough osmosis and patience. You know, Skimmerlit, your boy, is fucked sideways, spit roasted, when I'm doing actual research and trying to figure out how to do something right now. I thought I was going to drop out of university, buy a hot dog cart stand, and fund her doctorate, her one-day doctorate, by selling hot dogs. That's how in love with this bitch I was. And the only reason I don't... That was sophisticated brutality too, but I don't feel like it was intentional. Anyway, I put her so far above me. When she threw me away like it was nothing, I was busted up bad. And we aren't going to get into... Well, because we've already gone over the specifics of the other INFJ in the older videos, but my point is, they both did something similar. Different levels of sophistication, different levels of artfulness. It was almost... It's not almost. It is crueler what the first INFJ did to me, because it wasn't a serial killing without the killing. That was like getting shot in an alley or something. It's ugly, it's gross, it's painful, it's terrible. Or getting set up by your hood rat girlfriend. Terrible. Horrible. How bad do you feel? But if you get eviscerated and displayed around a room, that's bad. That's worse, probably. But at least it's funny. No, the reason they both deserve to burn in hell for eternity, a hell I run, is for a while they sell you the illusion of exactly what you have always wanted. That's why INFJs are demonic. Unforgivably demonic. And they do this to lure you in. They don't tell you this is false. They want you to believe it's real. But then they start to resent you for this act they're putting on because it's not them, even though there is no them. And then out of nowhere, for no reason you can discern, for no reason they'll tell you, they will attack you. And now, not only are you wounded, but also your hope for the idea of whatever it is you've always wanted could actually exist has been wounded also. And it gets wounded worse every time you interact with one of these people. But they're so good at controlling people because people's hope for whatever this thing is in another person they've always been looking for is so strong, almost nobody will voluntarily pull the trigger on the dream even when they know they should. It is really evil. I'm not exaggerating. If I could Thanos snap INFJs specifically, but let's be realistic, ENFJs too, just to be safe, out of existence, I would. The species would be better off without them. The same way animals would be better off without tapeworms. Or those screw flies. All this to say, I am upset because evidence is mounting. And there's already enough evidence here to draw the conclusion. The conclusion being this sort of human connection you want doesn't exist. But I'm still, presently, too weak to pull the trigger on it, or to close the door on it. I'm doing my best to trust life will evolve me past this once I'm ready or prepared or worth being evolved past it. But until that time comes, if it comes, I've had a terrible mounting pain and pressure in my chest because all today I've been reviewing the fact I know, as I am right now, I'm too weak to do what I know needs to be done, which is kill that desire, or to kill that hope, to kill that optimism, however deep it's buried, for people. I can't do it, and that means I'm going to suffer. I'm going to relive the same thing I've been reliving for over 10 years now until something in me changes. And that's scary. It's embarrassing. It's painful. You're too weak to get real and protect yourself. You don't want to accept this. You're too weak to accept this. Because to accept this is to step into a reality you feel isn't worth living in. But the problem is, you're already living in this reality. All you're doing by refusing to accept the fact you live in this reality is make yourself even more vulnerable to it than you otherwise would be. You're already here. Why are you so weak? Why are you so unable to let go of this? You know it doesn't exist. Why can't you let this go? I don't know what's going to happen with this disability of mine, but I have a feeling eventually, and maybe not anytime soon, but eventually, something's going to change because this can't go on. If I'm going to become the person I know I'm supposed to become, even though I don't know what kind of person that is or who that is. This is a roadblock something is going to happen with. Until that happens, you need to remember you are alone. Put yourself first no matter what. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.